All right. First and foremost, I want to make it very clear that this is not offensive material. This is not stereotypical. This is not one of those anti Semitic tropes. This is not one of those videos that blames Jewish people for being a part of some sort of secret cabal that's running the world. This is simply a historical perspective of how Jewish people became successful through the fundamental ability to read. And this is something that you can actually find in the records of history. It's been written about a lot, and it's not offensive at all. I mean, it's widely known that in the era of humanity, when the average person could not read because they didn't really have a reason to read, because the printing press wasn't invented yet, so there wasn't mass distribution of reading materials. Colleges didn't exist. I mean, life was pretty much predicated to farming. All right, and Jewish people at this particular time were the only people who knew how to read, or the only group of people who made reading important on a cultural level. All right, so ever since Judaism was founded, it was very important for the members of that faith to learn how to read their holy book, which is the Torah. Judaism encouraged its members, its flock, to learn how to read the Torah. They wanted them to read the Torah on their own so that they can understand the Torah in their own time. They didn't want a system set up like Islam, where you have the preacher or the imam being the only person designated to interpret the book or read the book. Because in the beginning of Islam, it wasn't really traditional for people to have their own copies of the Quran. It was pretty much mandatory that they didn't read the Quran at home and that they listened to the imam and let him interpret it, you know. And also because a lot of people couldn't read. But during the time when people really didn't read on a mass level, Jewish people did know how to read because they were encouraging their members to study the Torah. You know, that's the only reason why Jewish people were the only group of people that made reading important on a cultural level, because they simply wanted them to learn the Torah. All right, this benefited the Jewish people because once they lost their kingdom originally to Assyria and to Babylon, that's when they began their journey as being involved in money lending, you know, because they had an advantage over everybody else because they knew how to read. Therefore, instead of being regulated to just being farmers, they were able to read and learn how to get involved in high-minded fields. So that's how they got started in finance. They were moneylenders. And eventually, as time went on, when Islam came about, the caliphs of the various Islamic caliphates, the Rashidun Caliphate, the Abbasid Caliphate, all of them, pretty much, they pretty much trusted Jewish people to be bankers and moneylenders and involved in finance. They would actually try to attract the Jewish population to their territory, because they knew that Jewish people were avid readers, they weren't illiterate, and they knew that they had this historical connection to banking and being moneylenders. So the Muslim caliphs would actually invite the Jewish people to live in their areas, and they would loan them money. If the Jewish people didn't have any money, because Jewish people have always been historically treated bad. So if they were treated bad by somebody and they lost everything, the Islamic caliphs would invite them to their territory, and they would give them an investment. They would give them money so that they can start up their own financing firm, and they'll get to a point where they can pay back the loan, and they'll be designated as the money lenders. And that's how Jewish people got involved in modern day banking. That's why you hear all of these conspiracy theories about Jewish people running the banking and finance industry of the world, which is true. A lot of Jewish families do have high positions within the world of finance and banking because they always had it. If your family has been involved in money lending and financing and banking for 5,000 years, chances are you might become involved in that field too. And the reason why they were able to get these jobs and learn these particular skills is because they had the foundation of reading. Ever since Judaism was first created, they encouraged their people to read. And it benefited them over time because they were the only people, the only group that actually knew how to read on a cultural level. It was normal for people to be illiterate, but Jews knew how to read. Therefore, they were able to educate themselves and learn banking, financing. They were able to educate themselves to be more than just farmers and carpenters, And that's why today in 2021, and, that's why Jewish people are elevated economically. And you generally find them in high-minded fields of work that require a lot of skill, because they had a head start on everybody else through reading. And that's why they say reading is fundamental, because if you know how to read and everybody else doesn't know how to read, you're going to be the person who's going to be able to control them, not through brute force, but because you have intelligence. You're able to learn new things as opposed to just doing physical work that was handed down to you by your parents. You're not, because back then, that's how it worked. Your father was a farmer, you became a farmer, your kids became farmers because you haven't been introduced to reading and you didn't get the opportunity to learn other things, and that's the primary reason why the Jewish community found so much success. And they weren't treated as being evil. They were actually, like I said, invited. Kings and caliphs and rulers wanted the Jewish community in their area because they knew, if I have the Jewish community in my territory, in my kingdom, they have the skill of finance, banking. They're great at money lending. They have a history of money lending. Everybody knows them to be money lenders. That's what they're known for. So if I can get them to live in my area, they can get involved in banking. They can give people loans, charge them interest, and I can get a little cut of that money, and it'll benefit my kingdom. So Jews were highly desired. Everybody wanted them in their community because they knew that these people generate a lot of money through giving out loans. They give out $100. They add, 5% interest, and they give the kingdom 2% of that, for example. So it was advantageous to have Jewish moneylenders in your kingdom. Also, if you needed money to create some type of state project, or if your kingdom just went through a major war and you lost money, you could go to the Jewish community and get a loan at a decent rate. And it all happened because they knew how to read. Peace.